So, so as I am self-producing, I'm messing it up as always. So it's okay. I'm trying to get the timing right, and it's just not right no matter what I do. Um, it's okay. So tonight we have the KEW Exchange with Nancy, in case nobody knows who she is. Um, it's a lot of me and Nancy this week. And we are going to be talking about, I don't even remember the topic anymore. What was the topic? It was actually a good topic.
It's our gains through growth kind of thing. Using our past to inspire others and moving forward with wisdom.
Yeah, stuff like that,
And stuff like that.
Something like that, So, okay, so let's start this out with your story for anyone who doesn't know it.
Okay, so we'll do the abridged version. So my story. First, just trigger warning it out for people, let you know that I've lived with my story my whole life, obviously. So for me, it's not difficult to share, but I know it can be difficult to receive for sure. And most people have not had conversations about these sort of things. So please don't feel bad about any reaction you have to it. It's all good. I've probably had the same reactions: disgust, anxiety, curiosity, all of them. I've had them myself. So please don't feel you have to filter yourself or judge yourself about how you receive it. So the in a nutshell is I was sexually abused by my grandfather until I was 16 years old, at which time a mandated reporter did what they were supposed to do and told the authorities. And this secret that I had very carefully been guarding my whole life, as if my life depended on it, because that's what it felt like, was out. And it was just really ripped from me. All control was gone. And it felt as if it was unleashed on everyone. Prior to that, I really saw the situation as only me hurting and suffering. And now this thing that felt like it was as much me as it was something, but it was me, was now hurting a lot of people, and I could see it. And so that happened, and almost immediately I started to develop anorexia, but it started with restrictive eating and just sort of healthy restrictive eating, and it became pretty quickly full-blown anorexia, which I lived with for many years into college. And when I was 20, I decided that I would confront my grandfather. And I was a sophomore at the time in college, and I went and I confronted him, and he admitted to one instance where he had touched me inappropriately. And it happened to be that one instance was not something that I remembered. And so that for me was just, it triggered a whole bunch of things. It was definitely triggered my first major depressive episode, but it sent my mind to this place of like, well, what more don't I know? Like, what else is out there that can, sneak attack me? Or how do I find it out? Do I want to find it out? Do I have to know everything in order to heal? And then what if I can't think of everything? So there was, the downward spiral of my mental thinking, and there went my mental stability, my mental health. And I ended up dropping out of college, and it's actually taken me a really long time to call it dropping out. I used to say I left college. No, I dropped out of college. I couldn't do it anymore. I wasn't doing it. Went home, therapy 3 times a week, and group, individual, and slowly got back to a level playing field from which I could actually do the work. And over time, in many, many years, I've done the work. But I moved to LA as a trial period. My brother was living out here. And so my parents felt like if they sent me here for a summer, there was a safety net. And I ended up staying, which was great. I mean, I met my best friends, I met Raquel and Courtney and Candace that were from being here. Some of the first people I met when I landed on the ground here. And my life is my life. And I'm happy with where I'm at and how it's going. So all of that happened for a reason. But what happened was about 6 months after I moved out here, oh shit, guess what, Nancy? You took you with you. It just took her a little longer to show up. The honeymoon was over, and she said, she showed up on my doorstep with all her bags. So, again, another push back into doing what I needed to do. And I've been really lucky over time. I have this voice in me that I'll say I don't know where it comes from. It may be that many lifetimes ago, I gained this resiliency and this insight that took me through this lifetime. I don't know. But there was always a voice in me that was like a wise voice that would say to me, like when I wasn't going to class. So I didn't go to class for a while. I was having another major depressive episode. I had $800 worth of parking tickets because I hadn't moved my car. But there was a voice inside of me that would tell me in the morning or when it's time to go to class, you need to go. Because if you fuck this up, you're going to be mad at yourself later. So that voice always had that later. There's more to this. There's something coming. You just have to get through this part. Not just, you have to get through this part because there's more to come. And so, yeah, I can keep going through my adulthood and depression still being something that I am dealing with today. Of all the things I've been through, I would have said it was the abuse or the eating disorder that would have like permanently been my thing that I went through life with. And those two things really are not a part of my life in the way they were. I talk about like my past is always with me. The difference is I'm not running from it. I'm sort of welcoming it. I'm gratefully welcoming and having it move through the journey with me now. But yeah, I mean, I got divorced. I had a lot of similar issues in my relationship that I slowly created some of the dynamics of my abuse relationship again, which was really lovely after doing years and years of work to just sit there and go, oh my God, how did you do that? Like, how did you let that happen? You've done all this work, you know, all this stuff. And well, guess what? I'm human and comfortable discomfort happens little by little. And because I know it, it happens seamlessly and, okay. I had some work to do. I had some more work to do. And that's it. Like mental wellness is not somewhere like you get to the end, someone hands you a certificate, you hang it on your wall and you're good to go. It's just not how it works. It's a constant process. Now, I have fewer days that feel like I'm climbing uphill all the time. So delicious. And I have fewer days that, I have to pull my tools out of my tool belt. And I've changed how I am in the world on a day-to-day basis, which has been tremendous, but it doesn't mean that I don't have very, very human days. So that's a short version, not so short, but those are the biggies, I guess, in the journey. I'm going to look here. I know I missed Michelle is here. Hi, Michelle.
Michelle's here, Brian's here, Carl's here, KDJ, Dorothy, Rashmi.
Wow, you guys are awesome.
Seriously, awkward time of day too, but it's good.
It's and people are saying that have heard my story before, so I appreciate that.
It's ironic, right? Like we recreate our worst case scenarios because it's what we're comfortable with, right? And we've talked about this offline many times. Yeah. Like we recreate those circumstances because that's where our comfortableness in being uncomfortable comes from. And, like I never really looked at it that way until recently. And as I look back now, I can see the pattern. Like very clearly see the pattern of how mistake after mistake, or I wouldn't say mistake, but I kept putting myself through the same lesson, right? I wanted to learn that lesson numerous times because again, I'm stubborn and it takes a little bit for me to absorb those lessons. It's a never ending process, right? I still struggle, right? I mean, like last weekend was rough. Even today I had a moment that was rough, right? Like, I mean, my answer is let me just shut down from the world, right? And that's not really the best answer, but that's what I wanted to do.
When you come from backgrounds like ours, and mine's a little different because my core family was safe, but we learned to rely on ourselves. We couldn't put our trust, faith to take care of ourselves in other people. And, for me, it was the other people who could take care of me and would have loved to have taken care of me didn't know what was going on. And I've had people say, well, oh, come on, your parents had to suspect. I am an Oscar-worthy actress. If I tell you my life, it felt to me like my life depended on nobody knowing. Trust me, I did a really good job. I did a fantastic job of making myself remarkable in just the ways that made me unremarkable. I was president of my class and captain of the volleyball team and happy, smiley, bubbly, good group of friends. But it's not that I didn't feel that way at times. I did step into that life, often, but there was always this underlying piece that nobody knew and I was dealing with. So again, why do we retreat? Well, same reason we go to comfortable discomfort. We can. Master compartmentalizer over here. This is, we're good at this. This is what our brains were taught is survival. And I think that, we relearn and we get new tools, which is the beauty of life, is that our brains are really there with us and want to do everything to help us get the most out of life. Be safe, but be happy. Although I don't love the word happy. Find joy. Find the things that make us feel passionate and bring us alive, and find other people and all that good stuff. But I had to do the ritual of saying thank you. And you've heard me say this, like, here's time to retire. Here's your cross pen with your name on it. And congratulations. We loved having you here. Enjoy your retirement. Doesn't mean they don't show up once in a while, but what's changed in me is my awareness. Like, I see it happening like most of the time. Most of the time it's like, okay, hang on. And we were saying, like, it's not a destination where you get there and you stop. But at the same time, we keep saying it's work, but I don't want that to sound like, why should I do it if it's just always going to be work? But it's a different kind of work. It's a commitment to me in a joyful way. It is living life with gratitude. It is allowing good people into my life that I trust and I'm honest with, and I can be me, and I show up however I am, and I know they're going to show up for me. So the work is, for me, about remaining aware. And it's not to say I don't have bad days. I have bad days. And then that work is about rolling up my sleeves and looking in my toolbox and figuring out what is going to fix this today in this moment. So yes, it is work, but I don't want anyone to have the impression that it's not worth it. It is absolutely 1,000% worth it every time for me. I can't imagine what my life would be like if I hadn't done the work.
So here's how I explain it. It is the most miserable, horrible, shitty experience ever, but finding ourselves is worth its weight in gold. It is the most magical journey that comes out of the pain, right? But you have to go through the pain because looking back, it was always, let me avoid, let me run, let me escape, right? Escapism was huge. And it was just like, I escaped everything. I've talked about it 100 times. No matter what it was just always an escape. Mm-hmm. And I hid behind everything, right? And Sunday we're talking about, emotional detachment through attachment, right? Because again, it escapes to an attachment of a thing, a person, an object, a destination even, right? Or an outcome. And it's all just the same thing. It's really deep, and the deeper we go, the harder it gets, the more painful it gets. But it's still worth it.
But the greater the reward. The greater the reward.
The reward is so worth it. It's beyond.
And what's been helpful for me is not judge the person I was then as the person I am now. So if I look back and I look at that little 4 or 5-year-old girl, she didn't have the knowledge I have now. She didn't have the tools I have now. She didn't have the network I had now. She didn't have the voice that I had now. So I did this in therapy. I got to places where I was mad at her because she let it happen, and it had to be switched around to, oh my gosh, like, you little bean, you are resilient and beautiful, and you somehow, with none of the tools I have now, you figured out how to survive. You got me here. Thank you so much. And when I started having gratitude for all the shitty is when I went from surviving to thriving. It's when life started to happen in color. It's when life started to allow, like, I felt all the range of emotions. I, smelt all the smells, and everything really just sort of came back to me from living inside the fishbowl, which is how I always felt like I was living inside the fishbowl. Like, I could see all the things out there that were happening and they looked good. I had no idea how to get there because I kept banging into the fishbowl, So when I finally had gratitude for all of it, especially this little bean that was like, man, can you imagine? I look at Sid fighting her way through unthinkable things to stand here today so I can do this, so I can help other people, so I can share my story, so I can be known as the woman who changed the narrative on sexual abuse. We've had the cure for sexual abuse for years. If we look at it as a disease, it needs to be eradicated, because all we need to do is be willing to be uncomfortable. Because if we were talking to children about their bodies and boundaries, and it doesn't matter, all that matters is it didn't feel good to you. It doesn't matter who it was. It doesn't matter. It matters that you felt uncomfortable. And as of adults, we created this open space that we could receive someone, even if it's an adult later, is coming to us with this information in a way that is just a soft landing place, without judgment, without needing to fix it, just to learn how to be there. There would be nowhere for a perpetrator to hide. And so it's incredibly frustrating to me that we've had this cure, but people aren't willing to be uncomfortable enough to use it.
So here's a question, and I'm curious of your opinion on this, because as far as I know, I didn't go through sexual abuse, as far as I know. So would you consider blaming and shaming around sex to be sexual abuse?
I mean,
I'm curious because, there's emotional abuse, there's mental abuse, I'm just wondering if that is considered that. And
well, and I can't say, I'm not an expert in all things, psychological, but, I could see where, yes, I clearly know where it comes from some sexual trauma. But if you are being told you're not worth anything, if your physical body is being hurt, how are you enjoying a sexual relationship with another person? How does that not get impacted? How are you able to be intimate? How are you able to be in your body? How are you able to be comfortable with the weird, awkward crap that happens during sex? Like, it's the whole thing, like, oh, you have to be ready to buy condoms. No, you have to be ready to be completely mortified and be with the right person so that you both laugh at it. That's really it. But how do you create that space with another person if you've never experienced it, even as an individual?
Yeah, I mean, I never understood what intimacy was until probably last August. I never let anyone in. I just never let anyone into that point. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust anyone around me. I didn't trust anything, right? So it was, nobody got in. Nobody, ever. I would always push away, run away, do whatever to get rid of it if it ever got close. And now at least I understand the different levels of it, right? Friendship, family, all those different things. And still I have trouble trusting because I still don't fully trust myself, right? And it's this process of growing and evolving from the past experiences while using those lessons, like you said, to now thrive in a different way and be able to inspire others to be more vocal and share their stories. Because the only way the stigma ends is by exposing the stigma, right? Is by, not considering it a stigma anymore. But it comes from a place of you have to be secure in your own skin to be that transparent, to be that secure, to really be honest with yourself and everyone around you, right? Talking about what I talk about isn't always easy. It's not always what I want to talk about. The porn addiction, the sex addiction, the whatever you go into, right? The drugs, the alcohol. I mean, that's easier because that's just, that's like a staple now to be American. But it's not easy to talk about these topics. And it's definitely not easy as a man to talk about these topics with women on the screen, right? So it takes me having to be evolving from that place and being able to trust myself enough in that way to be able to have those conversations and, again,
Well,
do it live for the world.
Two things. First of all, as humans, we tend to collect evidence for the narrative that we most want to be true. So, and I've done it too, and I'm sure there's people watching that have done it. Well, you might have 5 pieces of evidence that would go against it, but you'll find the one that supports the narrative, which is usually the negative narrative, right? The worst case scenario narrative. And so, that we collect those and we put them in our jar of evidence. The other thing is you were saying that like drug addiction and alcohol addiction has become like American, right? It's that's the other side of making things
known.
No, right. But again, we go from things being taboo, we don't talk about them, and then we like pendulum swings all the way to the other side that it just is something. Everybody has it, somebody knows somebody, but we still aren't dealing with it. So we're not conversations anymore, but we're not having productive conversations. We're not moving the needle. So I don't know, it's got to stay in. Remember, I have this picture of the lottery balls that bounce around, right? That's what these things have to do, right? They have to constantly be moving and evolving and reaching new people for them to stay in that space where shit happens, right? Where it doesn't get pushed aside because it's too uncomfortable or because everybody, right? Everybody these days. And that's where we come in, right? And people have said to me like how brave they think I am. And I laugh only because this doesn't feel brave to me at all. I feel like I'm getting credit for doing something that's like, I'm not scared. There's no need for me to be brave. And maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. But there's no sense of needing to be brave. And I guess that's also knowing where you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. That there's no resistance and no fear. I am more in the place of being passionate. And like I said, just frustrated and angry at what's not happening. It's hard to keep me quiet anyway, but I can't keep my mouth shut. I can't keep my mouth shut anymore because I'm part of the problem. And I'm not, I refuse to be part of the problem any longer.
I think, well, first of all, you said 100 million things. You're nowhere near stupid, and I will attest to that on a daily basis. You're nowhere near stupid. Second of all, I think the reason you don't want to consider yourself brave is because of the freedom that sharing your story gave you.
Maybe.
And that's like taking credit for you gaining your own personal freedom, right? So in a way, it's like, why am I brave if I'm creating something magical for myself? And through that, creating and empowering others to do the same. Right. So that's how I look at it, because people look at me and say, well, sharing your story is brave. Being a male crying on screen is brave. Being this is brave. You look intimidating, but you're like this big teddy bear. That's brave. I'm like, I'm just me. First of all, this isn't brave. This is just, I'm putting it out there so others will also, because these are conversations that need to happen. These are conversations that should be discussed in education. Every child growing up in school should be learning about things that are inappropriate that happen to them. Because if you teach children that at a young age, it's going to be very hard to keep them silent no matter how scared they are.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Because they'll think what's right is to tell, not feel shameful and hold it as a secret. Right? But what is the acceptable norm would be to tell someone, as opposed to feeling like it's this shameful thing that I have to keep secret. And that's the thing is, people need to be less judgmental and more curious. Ask questions like, how did you do it? And, what got you here? And, okay, well, what could I say to someone if they came to me? How can I teach my child? Because I know there's lots of parents who think like, oh my gosh, that this is going to be some sort of sex talk with your 4 or 5 year old, 2, 3, 4, 5 year old. This is not a sex talk. this is a boundaries with your body, naming body parts with the names they really have, and reminding your children, that their body is their body. I say all the time, with my brother's kids, I couldn't necessarily ask them when I was bathing them because it wasn't really a choice whether or not you got washed, whether or not your vagina and your bottom got washed. It was going to happen. But I always told them that I was going to do it. Like, hey, I'm going to watch. Like, here, it's coming. And just by telling you that, the message I'm giving you is, this is something that needs permission. This is something that needs notice, right? It's not a sex talk. And quite frankly, adults are not comfortable with their bodies. So how are they having this conversation with their children?
Yeah. It's very awkward. And coming from a male who has 2 daughters and a son, right, who went through what they went through and doesn't know what else they went through. Just the proof only goes so far right this second. It's very scary, right? And having those conversations and trying to explain what is right and wrong after what they went through, and they're still trying to heal from it. I just reinstill in them what is right and wrong, right? Like, I might yell at you, but I'm not going to lay a hand on you. I might take something away from you, but I'm not going to lay a hand on you, right? I'm not going to do the things that were done to you. You wake up early, I'm not going to lay a hand on you. You come out of the bedroom after they put you in bed, I'm not laying a hand on you, right? Like, you can go to the bathroom in the bathroom. Like, you don't have to pee in a bottle in your bedroom, right? And hide it under the bed. Like, I mean, this is the stuff that, they went through, right? I have my own stories of what I went through. Mine was more just the emotional destruction. Like, yeah, there was a big physical side to it for a while, but the emotional is really what carried forward. Like, like words that just sliced through me. Like,
I say, no word is void. No word is void.
No, whoever said sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never hurt you is the dumbest human being that ever existed on this planet. Because I got to tell you, words are the worst. They carry with you forever. And there's certain ones that still get me because of the way that they were used against me and manipulated against me. Right? It's so scary that we don't feel comfortable to sit down with children and tell them what their body parts are called, to sit down with children and just be honest with them. Why is it so hard to be honest with them? First of all, they're stronger than we give them credit for.
Oh, man. Do not underestimate the wisdom of a child and what they get and understand. Do not make that mistake.
Right. But, like, we underestimate everything about them, and we don't even give them an opportunity to give them honesty.
Right. We underestimate their capacity.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
people handle these things, right? It's like because we're not giving it to them the way I would an 18-year-old or 30-year-old. It's given to them in the way that they can digest it. But again, if we as adults don't feel comfortable having the conversation and using those words about our bodies, then yeah, it's going to be real awkward to have that conversation with your child and be willing to answer questions that come up and, not flinch and make them feel like there's something wrong. And to teach kids, like, trust your intuition.
It hurts.
And what that is.
You fell? We're at school?
Yeah.
I can't help you if you fell at school. Let me see.
Does something hurt now?
Yeah, her elbow's just a little.
Aw. It needs a kiss, probably.
Wait a second. Nope, your head's still the biggest thing on your body. You're good. It's okay. Okay, go get your iPad, lay right here. Go get your iPad and lay right here.
He needs her dad.
Lay right here? You don't want your iPad? You want to hug me? Okay, you can.
Good.
And white boogers all over me.
Of course. When I first started
Whoa.
working in the schools, I remember when I graduated from grad school, I went out and bought professional clothing. And I very quickly realized that I sit on the floor, kids wipe their nose on me, and, whatever else happens. And I can't afford, as being paid as a teacher, for dry cleaning bills. And so, that was the thing. If I'm going to be written on, I'm going to be snotted on. Worse has happened. So, Sid. Hey, Sid. Hi. Hi, Sid.
Camera's the other direction, Sid.
Hi.
There you go.
There you are.
You're
So yeah, it's
your elbow's okay. It's got like a little bump on it. Does
we
it probably hurt from leaning into the soda? You spilled soda?
No.
So what's on the table?
Uh-oh. Quick, hurry, think.
Michelle.
But Mike, you also have this lovely opportunity to parent yourself through your children, because you know absolutely what you would not do and what would be destructive to them. And I know you are very mindful of that, and very honest with them. And,
I'm live, Sid. Go get Michelle.
It's okay. You can take care. You know what, Mike? Go help her. Show her she's a priority.
It's not always the easiest to do things the right way.
No, it's not. And I'm not living your life. So where I say, go ahead, show her she's the priority and help her, I'm sure you did it. Oh, Sid, I can tell you feel sad. Your face showed me you felt really sad.
Did you do that to hijack the screen? Is that better?
Anyway, now it's me. Mike and I talked earlier about some of the things that come along with trauma. And I think a lot of that, and Mike will say it's blame, shame, and guilt. And I think that shame is one of the most insidious emotions that there is. Shame is so destructive. And in talking about things, like I was saying earlier, we can remove shame when we make it the norm. When we make it that it's not something we hide and don't talk about, then we remove shame, and that's pretty powerful.
It is, and shame is vicious because it's the gift that keeps on giving, and it's one that we attach to words and actions. And yeah, I am so bad with comments. Kelly, if you're watching, just feel free to make fun of me. We miss you.
I mean, I can help if you want. You just gotta tell me.
You can't do it from your side.
I think I can.
No, you didn't sign into it.
Well, it's giving me the option.
Go click on it. See what happens. Pick one.
Right. Let's see. I'm just gonna randomly. Yeah, that's a long one. Let's see. Aha!
It does work from your side?
It does work from my side. I have the power.
That's awesome. Oh, here she goes.
Now unleashed me on comments.
Here she goes. Yeah, shame is dangerous, right? Because, when I first got my kids back, right, and when I first got them, what I noticed was how much shame they had. And especially my son. Everything. He was embarrassed about everything. And it was so sad. And it's taken me a year to get it to the point where he's comfortable just being in his own skin most of the time. Now he's not perfect, but neither am I, so how can I expect him?
None of us is.
Right. So it's just been this process, and healing myself has helped them heal. Them healing has helped me heal. And it's been this amazing, just circle of healing lately. And it's great.
And you've had rapid fire healing. You're like on the accelerated course or the roller coaster. I don't know what it is, but you've had a ton of healing going on, which is a testament to you,
Well, when you don't have time, you just got to do it all at once. And that's kind of what I did. I just took it on and ran with it. So it was at first it might have been for the wrong reasons, but in the end, it's for the right reasons. So
yeah, we find our path.
Yeah,
and our path finds us. Despite our best efforts, our path finds us.
And it's not the easiest thing, right? Because keeping track and staying on top of it, like it really creeps up quickly, right? Like
Mhm.
it creeps up on
What's
us.
this, Dada?
Well, what's
What's
it?
this, Dada? What's this?
Okay, the card. I'm holding the card. Okay, so here, there you go. All right. It's just a process like everything else. Her hands wrapped. She's like hysterical. Oh God.
She's Sid. She's Sid doing Sid. I mean, come on. What more could you ask for?
She's trying to climb up on the chair with one arm because the one arm hurts.
And you know what? She'll get there because she's Sid, and she's not going to give up.
No, not at all.
No.
No, they're pretty good. They're pretty good about not giving up, these kids. They want to at times, but so do I, so I can't judge them for it.
Yeah, but they have that thing in them, like I said, that is not going to allow them to stop. And it's going to, their younger selves are going to they're going to bring them through. So they get to a place where they can really, hi, my friend Sid.
It's funny, right? Oh, there's a chance you might actually meet us soon.
I know.
Might happen to just be in Florida at the same time.
That's true.
It's,
For people who don't know, our parents, well, your dad and my parents live probably less than 10 minutes away from each other.
less than a mile. It's opposite corners of the street.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like
It takes longer to get through the gate than it does. Like
it does. It does. Yeah, the gate's ridiculous at both of them. It's unbelievable. It's nuts. It's crazy. Valencia is the one with the townhouses in the front, right? And then they have the houses in the back.
Yeah, my parents are Venetian Isles.
Oh, Venetian. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's Valencia then Venetian.
I think so.
Yeah, so it's like right there.
Next to them, they're across from like Equus, whatever. This is fun
Yeah,
for everybody
yeah.
watching. Now, if you don't know what this is, you have just witnessed a game of Jewish geography, which is where you know someone somewhere that this worked because we actually did know, but you know someone somewhere that pretty much the other person doesn't know and wouldn't know, and you randomly throw out their name and where they live. Because like my mom will say to me, oh, you know, so-and-so's grandchild lives in Los Angeles. Do you know Bob Brown? Millions of people in Los Angeles.
Out of the 10 million of people. Yeah,
Yeah,
out of the 10
millions
million
of
people.
people. And then you keep going until you find one that you both know. That's it.
Which is really funny, actually. It's just ironic. It really is ironic. I mean, like synchronicities, you can't make that stuff up.
Life is synchronous. Life has a lot of synchronicities. And if we allow ourselves, it's so funny. My affirmation this morning was just, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. And my thought was, if I don't let the universe know that I am ready, why would it deliver my desires? Why?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, it's not going to know what to deliver if you don't admit that you're ready. So
the thing is, the universe does know what to deliver. If I'm not ready, I reject it.
right.
I resist it. So that's the piece. That's the piece for me.
It's been a very interesting period of time, right? Because when I started my transformation, it was for one specific reason, and as that's evolved, it's now for one specific reason that's completely different. It started out for something else, and now it's for myself. And now by doing it for myself, it has become this amazing experience of continuous growth. And
That's what I was going to say. Where did you find the ease and growth? Which version of that? The first or the second? When you were doing it for something else, or when you were doing it for yourself?
in the beginning, honestly, I thought I had it for something else also. But over time, that proved to be untrue. So, in the end, definitely for myself. In the beginning, I saw how it also, I had it then too. But when dynamics change, right, because they're always changing.
When awareness grows.
Right. Awareness grows, dynamics change, situations, circumstances. When that happens, then things shift. And when you're doing it for yourself, that never disappears.
Right.
So
yeah. It's hard to put ourselves first. We don't come from backgrounds, you and I, that put ourselves first, but we also don't come from a society where, there's shame around it, right? We're selfish if we put ourselves first. It's not the idea that like, I need to take care of me to be able to give it's a bank account. If I didn't deposit, I have nothing to give. I can't, there's no withdrawal to be made. But instead, we do it backwards. It's like you have to give and give and give and give and go into debt, right? With all your giving, all your energy, all your time, your wisdom, whatever it is, you have to go in debt before you can, right, start rebuilding your financial picture, so to speak, before you put that time and energy into yourself. Whereas if we were doing it the other way around, it makes a lot more sense. It would probably flow a lot more easily.
Where are you going? You're going to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's with a half a slice of pizza in her mouth. The speech pathologist. Trying to understand that one. Yeah, but it's interesting, right? Because this journey, what I've realized is I am selfishly selfless.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I'm first in that statement, I can still be there for everyone else as I want.
Mm-hmm.
But I never even had a clue. You can't pull your pants down?
No.
Okay, well, me doing that live on screen probably could go against me on Tuesday. So maybe next time that show to help. As she's hopping around, dancing up naked. It's she's gonna fall on her face. She has them at the bottom. She has them at the bottom of her ankles. She still has the one arm wrapped up. Hopefully, she lands on the one wrapped up. But like, I never understood that, right? But again, I also didn't think I was worth it. So that's a whole other story.
Right. What are you able to see? But yeah, that's part of it. Is our filters. They're good at keeping things out, and they're good at translating things on their way in, and that's the awareness piece. And I think for me, I was really lucky that I had awareness all along of maybe not everything, but at least enough to know that I needed help, and I needed to not remain in that space, to not remain in that place if I was ever going to make it. And it started out in small ways, obviously. I mean, I started with court-ordered therapy when I was 16 years old, and that was useless. But I understand why it happened. And I will say to that therapist, who I don't remember his name, he said to the courts, he said, she can't testify. It will destroy her. She can't say the things that you need her to say. She can't tell the story that is hers. Not yet. And so, yeah, I mean, but our filters are strong. They saved us, and they're loyal.
For me, it was the avoiding of being self-aware, right? Like between all my escapisms, I was aware of what I didn't want to know. And I found ways to avoid that. No matter what the escapism was, I always found ways to avoid it, right? And for me, it was always running to a relationship, hiding behind something else, someone else, hiding behind a job, hiding behind a business I was building. Whatever it was, there was always an escape. Mm-hmm. This is the first time that I've actually just sat in stuff. And it's very awkward. It's not fun at all. But you know what it is? It's also proving my worth to myself. It's showing me myself how strong I am and how resilient I am and how much I can overcome. And it's also showing me who values me in my life. Because actions speak louder than words. It's easy to throw words around, but at the end of the day, who's going to be there when you really need them? And who's going to be those people that you can call on when you need them? And that gets proven to you over time.
Yeah. The other thing that I had to come to understand is this natural pruning of friends. There's actually a natural pruning of friendships. And we don't notice it. I don't think, this is my theory on it. You can tell me if it resonates at all, that we're constantly, quote unquote, losing friends and gaining new friends. We just don't really see it or pick up on it until we found a place where we're still, and then we can see that. So like, I always think about like well, my high school friends going into college. There was a natural pruning of my high school friends as I made college friends, and I was a different person in a different situation. And then, when I moved to California, same sort of thing, right? Certain people came with me, certain people didn't. But I didn't notice it as much because they were natural transitions, high school to college to LA, and all different things, like to my married friends, whatever. And it wasn't until I sat still that I realized, wow, this pruning of friendships has been happening my whole life. So when it happens now, when it did happen in that moment, and I was, gut punched, shocked, horrified, whatever it was, that this person who I thought was a dear, dear friend that would be with me for life chose not to be, or couldn't be for their own reasons, that was part of what had happened all along. There were people in my life that felt like that I didn't notice it because I was continuing to move. So all of that pruning sort of felt like part of the process. It was a natural transition. And so, yeah, it's not to say that it doesn't hurt, but our like everything else, our relationships are evolving and living and breathing, and some of them will, last forever and be infinite and immortal, and others will move on and find a different path.
I think part of it is also when it's people that are working on themselves versus people that aren't, right? Or people that aren't as committed to it as you are, right? I feel like as we evolve and we take steps forward, our vibration gets higher, our energy shifts, we have changes. It starts clashing instead of being synchronous.
It's hard to be, if you are not willing and wanting to change, it's hard to be with someone who is.
Yeah.
It's really, and vice versa. If you're someone who's wanting and willing to change and you're going through the process and you're rolling up your sleeves, it's hard to stay with people who aren't in that place. It's uncomfortable on both sides. I say this about Jairus. He is doing that thing that's hardest. He is changing within a static system. And that's so hard to do. That is incredibly hard to do because everybody that's in that static system is going to pull you back because that's what makes them comfortable. We don't change around here. Come on back. Come on, play the game with us. Come on. You're breaking the rules. It makes us really uncomfortable. This is unexpected. And they want to pull you back for their comfort. And so I give him a shit ton of credit because that is, me, one of the hardest journeys to be on.
And for me, in a lot of ways, it feels like a lonely journey because as much as I want certain people in my life forever, it feels like every time I think people are, I just go past it.
I'm going to challenge the magical thinking of every time.
Okay, so challenge the magical thinking. You're right. It's not every time. Specific times. How about that?
It's happened many times, maybe.
Yes. A lot, way too many times. But there were times where it was that I wasn't growing also, right? And there were times that I was stagnant and people moved on and I stayed behind because I just didn't move on. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, if we stay still, we don't gain our wisdom.
And it's tough though, right, to accept those things. But I also think that in order to keep people close to you, at least at certain levels, it's got to be radical honesty. Like radical transparency and honesty.
You and I don't know, but I think we believe, I don't know if it's our language around this or the belief. And I think it might just be the difference in how we go about it. Whereas I may see something and I may have a truth, but I feel that the other person isn't quite ready for it, or maybe needs to be hearing it a little at a time to digest it. And I don't believe I'm being dishonest by not sharing all of it or not sharing it the second I see it or know it, whether it be about me or about them or our relationship, our dynamic, anything. But maybe it's the empath in me, because if it's hard for them to receive it, I'm going to feel it. And so maybe that's my guide. And that's where I know where the boundary is of like, okay, I've given you what you can handle for now. You're gonna go process this, and you'll be back. You'll be back, and we can have another conversation, and we can keep going with this. So again, I think it's just how we go about it. We both believe in honesty, and we believe in transparency is key. But I don't know how you feel about it. I don't feel it's lying if I don't tell the whole truth in certain situations. Not yet. The intention is, and it will be told, but I don't feel that I'm working against my integrity if I don't tell all the truth all at the same time.
Yeah, I can't do that. No, my core values won't allow it. My body rejects it. I start feeling like shit over it, and it starts eating away at me. What works for me doesn't have to work for everyone else, right?
Absolutely.
I don't believe in secrets. I don't believe in half-truths or omitting. For me, I need radical, blunt transparency and honesty. And that is no matter how bad it's going to hurt me, no matter what's going to happen, because my intuition, which we're going to be talking about next, is so through the roof that I will see through anything other than that.
So that's how you like to receive.
Right, no, and I agree. That is how I like to receive. Right. Now, what I'm slowly learning, very, 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 very.
You're doing a good job. We've had these conversations.
Right, is how to be a little bit more gentle and fluffy, as DJ would say. Fluffy. And
was it from Despicable Me? Oh my God, it's so fluffy.
But I'm getting there, right? It Animaniacs. That's what it reminds me of. And it's like baby steps, but I'm getting there, right? And remember, I mean, I'm still growing into myself because I didn't know who the hell I was for 41 years.
This sounds ridiculous. You're new to being human.
I am. Yeah, suck at it too. In some ways.
What was that?
Nothing. I didn't say anything.
No, I didn't think so.
I'm getting slapped on the wrist by the teacher.
Well, you know that I'm all about the words, and I'm all about reframing, and I believe in the power of that. So if you tell yourself you suck at it, you're going to continue to suck at it. If you tell yourself that you're growing through it, that's a different story. I'm
growing through it.
There you go.
And rockfully and painfully, but I'm growing through it. Is that what you're looking for?
Choose your battles.
But yes, we're going to call this because straight from this, we are going to the Misfits.
Yes.
And let it continue because no Jen tonight. Raquel's back. DJ's there. Cap might be a little bit late.
That's okay.
And we have a surprise guest.
We do. Before we sign off here, I just want to say thank you, Mike. Thank you for all the conversations we've had, offline, here tonight.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. On Misfits, on the Sunday show. So there you go. Let's do the plug. You guys join us at Misfits tonight and every Sunday night at 5 o'clock Pacific time. Mike and I are talking again, which is what we do best, apparently. But I want to say thank you to you sincerely and tell you how much I appreciate you. And I know you know that, but really what's important to me is that you feel that. And I want to say thank you to everyone who showed up in the comments and supports. And these are people that have become... it's incredible. Never met you in person, but these are near and dear. These are near and dear people who show up for me time and time again. And again, I appreciate that beyond words. And what's important to me is that they feel it. So that's
I appreciate you because I can't do this without you. Literally, I couldn't, right? Couldn't have our conversation without you being a part of it. So, no, you know how I feel. I adore you. I appreciate you. I am so fortunate to have you in my life. And you really call me on my bullshit, and I appreciate that because apparently I'm intimidating, so people don't like doing that.
Oh,
not exactly sure how.
I don't scare easily. I
don't think I'm scary, so I couldn't tell you where these people are getting.
I mean, I don't find you scary, but everybody receives our energy differently.
Pretty much. So
who knows?
All right, world. Have an amazing 5 minutes before we jump on Misfits.
Yeah. Bio break. Go get your snacks. Go use the restroom, and then we'll see you in a few minutes.
All right. Sounds good, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.